That is not what you want to see when you're driving along. That's the oil pressure warning light, and there's a couple of reasons why that could be on, some of them more serious than others. But what you should do is pull over and check why you've got no oil pressure. If you carry on driving and your engine isn't getting any oil, you can damage the engine beyond repair. The light above it is just, we've got a headlamp bulb out, it's not related to that. So the first thing we've done is actually change the oil pressure sensor, which is hidden down by the oil filter. You can't really see it, but it's you won't really be able to see it, but it's behind the oil filter down there, and the way to get to it is from underneath the car. But the other reason that you may get an intermittent red oil light coming on, if you've got quite an old engine and your car's done quite a few miles, what should be in this car is 5W30 oil, which is a very thin oil. So what we've done is we swapped the oil out, change the oil filter and obviously the sump plug and wash at the same time, and put 1040 oil in it. If you do have that intermittent red oil light, as either something catastrophic. The last time we had it with this car was because somebody had put the oil sump back on with silicone. The silicone had oozed into the oil pan and clogged up the oil pickup, and that was quite a big job to do all of that. But I suspect this is either just a faulty oil pressure switch or oil that's basically too thin and an engine that's getting a bit worn out. We'll soon find out. In the interests of science, I've cut this oil pressure switch open, and it's quite a simple device. You can see that the spring there makes contact with those two metal terminals, and those two metal terminals correspond to that pin inside there. I stick a stiff bit of wire down there and press that in. You can hear the clicking of the diaphragm in there. I'm just going to go one step further, take this spring out, take this piece of plastic out here, and just have a look at that little diaphragm and switch inside there. So we've just cut a little bit more of that plastic off, and this cap now comes out. So there you have it. That's what an oil pressure switch looks like inside. You have this little plunger here. This is where the wire is attached to this side here. And when there's oil pressure coming down this hole here, this breaks the connection. And when there's no oil pressure, this is allowed to move up this way, making the connection with that little ring there, which completes the circuit. We got our oil pressure switch from these guys here, One Car Parts on eBay, £5.71 delivered. It's not an expensive part. It's definitely a job you can do yourself, provided you don't mind crawling under the car. If you've changed your oil pressure switch and you're still getting an intermittent oil pressure warning light, next thing to do would be to change your oil from 530 up to 1040. Obviously, the proviso is that you're confident that the engine is actually getting oil. When we had this problem before and the engine wasn't getting oil, there was a very noticeable clattering sound, and there is a video on this channel to do with the Audi A4 oil change, just documenting that. We've driven the car several days or weeks now, and everything seems fine. So a combination of changing that switch, putting thicker oil in, seems to have cured that problem for the time being anyway.